Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:14 a.m. this morning, and in this segment, we have on set with us Vennorick Cupid, founder of M-Pros, and we're speaking to the issue of Tobago dance community in Jeopardy. Good morning to you, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so I want us to start the conversation. Many people got familiar with Vennorick and the entire team in terms of young men being able to embrace the art form of dance, having that blend between our very own Tobago culture, pop, and various aspects. Tell us a little bit about where things at in terms of M-Pros now.
Right now, M-Pros is currently trying our best to motivate the younger generation going forward, because we realize that as much as we are established on the island and as much love we would have gotten throughout the years dancing, it doesn't mean much if we cannot motivate and encourage the next generation coming up. So that is where our focus currently lies right now.
All right. We've seen that you've noted some concerns, specifically looking at the Tobago dance community in Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about these concerns.
The dance community in Tobago is currently, what's the best word to use? Dysfunctional. It's toxic. It's horrible. And I'm saying this not only being somebody who has been a part of the dance community for over a decade, but for someone who has been considered as an outsider, because we have what we like to call a somewhat dance mafia, right? And I know it's something a bit extreme, but that is the best term to really call it. And the dance mafia currently is sort of, well, not currently, that has kind of always been their mandate, as sort of creating a level of separation. And that sort of separation is what is breaking apart the dance community currently on the island.
So when you say separation, many would say that we are seeing progressive moves in terms of performing arts. When we speak to the work that we've seen by the TPAC and a number of other entities, are you suggesting that it's not necessarily so, or are there specific areas of concern where there might be consideration for those within dance itself and real opportunities for growth and development?
I would like to say a bit of both, and I'm not saying that to slight TPAC in any way. TPAC is currently doing amazing work. I believe that Mr. Jared Primer is also a part of TPAC, and he would have played a huge role in actually grooming my dancers to be at the level that they are today. But when I say that, I mean that outside of TPAC, what real dance opportunities are there outside of TPAC? And one of the main concerns that would have been brought to me, because I'm coming as one person, but a lot of individuals, a lot of stakeholders in this dance community would have came to me to voice their concerns, right? One of the main issues is like, what are they doing to target the young men? You understand? Young men currently on the island, dancing is a dying breed. Outside of my group, I think my group may be, and I want to be sure I say this properly, I think my movement professional dance company may be the only male dance organization on the island. And dance is something, especially in 2023, is blowing up due to apps like TikTok. It's actually a trend. It's huge. So why is it that at this time in this year, from beginning to now, that is where we are at right now? What's causing that?
Why would you say persons are not attracted at this point, or perhaps more specifically, males?
I would say, and I say this, I say this with the risk of being somewhat further blacklisted, but I don't really care at this point. One of the main reasons that I would say is because of the marketing that is being done of pertaining to dance on the island, especially when it comes to the cultural and the arts towards the folk side, the marketing. A lot of the practitioners that are currently male on the island who would have been highlighted and displayed currently, they are displaying the dance, they are displaying the art form with using a sort of very feminine touch. Nothing is necessarily wrong. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but when it comes to young men like to see proper representation. They want to see themselves into the movement. They want a very strong, firm, masculine representation on stage, and that is what they want to aspire to. So if the marketing, if it is that the persons who are currently practicing dance now or performing now, or the ones who are being highlighted now, are not showing that, the young men will definitely stray away. And that is one of the issues that was brought to me by teachers, by parents, by students, that this is why they're not interested.
Would it not be safe to say, if I am to make a quick analogy, one has to be comfortable in oneself, no matter the circumstances, whatever your choices may be. I wear pink and I'm comfortable and confident about it. There was a time where men didn't, because they felt that it led to a kind of
Yes,
belief.
I know that.
Is that not what one might describe as perhaps an excuse for trying to define that there is really a challenge?
I understand what you're saying and I agree with you, but the borderline problem, the borderline issue and the borderline problem with what you're saying is that even though a lot of individuals who are currently dancing would have embodied that sort of frame of mind, we are not talking about dance for us. We're talking about dance for teenagers. We're talking about dance for young kids. And when it is that you have an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old that is interested in dance, how dance is perceived, if it doesn't line up with the development you have in plan for your child, you will not necessarily send them there. And as a teenager, from the time you cross 12 years old, the person or the group that has your interest the most is your peers. As a young man, and I started dancing as a teenager. When I was in my teens, my mother and father pushing that be true to yourself, that didn't weigh as much as how my brethren and them on the block, and I'm from Mountain George, would have perceived me. So as much as that statement is true, we are targeting a very different crowd. We are targeting young men, and young men care more today about how they are perceived by their peers than anything else.
All right. Viewers, we take a break here at this point, but we will return to continue the conversation with Vennorick Cupid as we go further to speak to some of the solutions as we go forward. How do we get Tobago to this space where we continue to have that active participation, particularly in dance, in terms of our young men and women, ensuring that, we're in safe hands for the continuation of this art form, a critical part of our culture. We want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the life, share the life, share the life. Good morning, viewers, and welcome back. We're at 7:22 a.m. Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Paul in Scarborough, Tobago. At this point, we continue the conversation with Vennorick Cupid, founder of Emperors, and we're speaking about some of the challenges faced in terms of the dance industry here on the island. And now we've spoken about a number of areas, and what I want us to touch on now going forward is, what do you see as some of the potential solutions to be able to get past this challenge that you see us facing?
I love that question because anybody could sit down and highlight a number of problems. Anybody could do that. But what it boils down to is, how can we fix this? I believe that the best way, and there are numerous ways, but I believe the best way to implement change, it needs to start from on top, right? I mentioned the dance mafia from before. There are a lot of individuals that are currently in power that has that sort of influence and platform, that if they would shift their focus onto development and solving some of these problems in the dance community, we will be better off. And I see myself as maybe a somewhat pillar, but not really as much as them, because I'm relatively new to a lot of people because of my genre of dance. I do hip hop, soca, dancehall. I do that. I do folk and stuff that much. I had a little bit of exposure. But the individuals and them that are currently in the position of power, if they look down and try to deal with the issues on the ground level, we'll be a lot better for today. Because despite what they may think, everything is not all good and well. It is really, really bad. Whether it is that we have students that could come to me and say, hey, I'm interested in learning how to dance. I'm interested in this, but I know that the dance space is toxic. Why isn't the dance space welcoming? And I could tell you, when I just started dancing, and even up to today, to some point, the dance space is not welcoming. So I believe that all of the stakeholders could probably have another stakeholder meeting where it is that we sort of flush out the bad air, the blood. It have a little too much of favoritism. You have too much of, well, that is my family, so they can get this sort of preference. It have too much of opportunities that was supposed to be for Tobagonians that they brought in Trinidadians to fill it, and Tobagonians just supposed to take it. I've heard these and more. So we really need to have a space where we could air this out, because we are dying. And if we as a people lose our culture, we lose ourselves. And that is something that I know a lot of people would just prefer to just ignore it and say, well, you know what, I don't want to deal with these people, they're toxic. But I'm somebody I truly care. Dance has taken me from a youth man on the block that used to be a lineman on the block every day to the World Hip Hop Championships due to the support of the Tobago people. So I'm very passionate, I'm very grateful, I'm very thankful, and I want to do my part to help anybody, any young man that wants to dance, want to display themselves in that way, but want to do it proudly.
I want you to tell us as well. I know you spoke to the powers that be, and of course, the first entity that comes to mind in the circumstances from a governmental perspective is the Tobago Performing Arts Company. Have you taken the time out to meet with the relevant officers there, to have this kind of engagement as to recommendations coming from someone who is involved in the dance art form, but you are not necessarily directly associated with?
I love the question. Recently, I think 2 weeks back, across the floor dance company had their dance production in Shore Park, and I attended, and I was actually in lengthy conversation with Mr. Jared Primer, and I believe, I'm not too sure, but I believe he's the one that is currently holding down TPAC, right? And we were talking about this very same topic, and he was a breath of fresh air, and I could still see that even at this stage, he is concerned about the development of his boys, because we would have learned from Mr. Primer. And what I can see on that is that even within the ranks of TPAC, and I want to say this very carefully, there are some practitioners in there that sort of benefit from the mafia's hold, and the respect that dancers should have, even they themselves being dancers, is not there. Some of them are smug. Some of them believe that they have a level of pretentiousness. Some of them believe in a superiority complex, and whether they realize it or not, other dancers pick up on this, and that is one of the main reasons why other dancers will kind of tend to stay away from anything that they are touching, because you make us feel uncomfortable. I could call over 20 names right now, but I'm not going to do that. I could go over 20 names right now that would have told me the same thing without even me asking them. You all make us feel uncomfortable, and it's more in the folk, in the African space, that sort of mafia, that sort of clique, that in clique. And I know some people a lot of people on my side is tuning on the live, probably laughing, saying, "Oh my God, Cupid is saying this," but the clique, you all may be not aware, but you all are pushing a level of separation that is killing the passion of those who are currently on the island. I know dancers to this day that would have stopped dancing because of the way how you all would have treated them, right? And I want to let you all know that whether or not you're dancing folk, you're dancing African, you're dancing hip-hop, you're dancing soca, we all perform for Tobago, and there need to be a level of respect across the board.
All right. We want to thank you very much. We're just out of time there, Vennorick Cupid, the founder of Emperors, bringing us information here, concerns with regards to dance, as well as recommendations in terms of moving things forward. And we really look forward to the continued growth and development of groups and organizations similar to that to Emperors and a number of the other dance companies operating here on the island, that you can certainly continue to encourage our young persons. And I want to also say Emperors also has its responsibility to ensure that you continue to mold and to groom our younger persons in terms of coming up the line. So thank you so much for joining us here
for having me, man.
on set this morning. Vennorick Cupid, founder of Emperors Movement Professionals Dance Company. All right, viewers, at this point, we prepare to head on out to a break. Coming up in our next segment, we will be speaking with Secretary Assemblyman Pastor Terence Baines, Anne-Marie Degazon, and Lee Rowley, as we speak to a Spark singular point of access to reignite change. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions here on the Tobago Updates morning show. And at this point, remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.